Welcome to the Statesboro Herald's 2014 Pigskin Pick'em, brought to you by Seasons of Japan Restaurant and Dr. Troy M. Lawhorn at Statesboro Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery and Dental Implant Center.
And welcome to Week 11 of the Pigskin Pick'em. I'm Josh Arbor, your host, being joined as always by the Statesboro Herald's Matt Yogus, Mike Anthony, Eddie Ledbetter, taking a quick look at the standings for the season. Everybody over 500. Reeling Eddie in a little bit here. We got Josh 46-34, Yogus 42-38, pulled above the Mendoza line. Mike at 48-32, and Eddie leading the way once again, 53-27 on the season. This week we have 4 college games, 4 high school games. We don't know what we'll do next week. Might have to go outside of Bullitt County because it looks like there's only 2 teams, possibly 3, that'll be playing in the postseason. Let's get right to it. The Georgia Southern Eagles coming off a Thursday night 42-10 victory at home. A couple extra days to prepare for Texas State, which could be the toughest team in the league they've played. Matt Yogus, a 12-point spread for the Eagles' favorites going in to San Marcos.
Yeah, that's a big number, I think. You know, we saw them go to New Mexico State early in the year. They won by 8. They came out a little bit sluggish after a long road trip. Similar situation here, and Texas State is definitely not New Mexico State when it comes to level of talent. They've got bowl eligibility on the line. They've got, they're still thinking conference championship. Georgia Southern, on the other hand, kind of lethargically rushed for 400 yards last week. So all that said, you'd think I'm going to pick Texas State, but I fear for my safety, so I'm going to go with Georgia Southern.
Come on, Matt. You said on Eagles Nest you expect it to be a little closer than 12.
Yeah, well, I'm a liar.
All right. Mike Anthony.
Well, Matt brings up a lot of good points. It is a road trip. The last time the Eagles had to get on a plane, they didn't really show up until about the second, third quarter. But I think that it's been all about traditions, a lot of talk about traditions. I think somebody's going to remind this team what happened the last time the Eagles went to San Marcos. It was a heartbreaker. I think they do it for the 2005 Eagles. Texas State will tell you that Georgia Southern's rushed for a lot of yards, but it's come against the worst rush defenses in the country.
Texas State would be right.
But there's a good reason why those teams are statistically the worst rush defenses in the country. Because they played Georgia Southern. And 400 yards, I think it'll happen again. Eagles find a way to cover that spread.
Eddie.
Let's make it 3, Georgia Southern.
Oh, no. Are you going to make me have to do this? I don't think I can. Georgia Southern's covered all but, I think they've covered all but one game this year.
2 games, I think.
Okay, maybe 2. Still, the odds are with me to take the Eagles. We're going to go with Georgia Southern for everybody going with Georgia Southern. We'll see how that works out.
That Texas State loss in 2005 lasted 4 years.
The dark season began after that. All right, let's get right into another Sun Belt team. You got Appalachian State against UL Monroe. App State in the middle of a blizzard. Really took care of business last week over Georgia State, I believe. 44-0 was the final. This time around, UL Monroe, who put up quite a battle this past week, playing one of the big boys. Yogus, your thoughts on App, 3.5-point favorite over Monroe?
I think Georgia State had fewer yards last week than total losses in program history. They've only been around for a couple of years, so that's impressive. I guess there's going to be another snowstorm. I'm amazed Appalachian State is favored in this game. I know it's at home, but Monroe looked good last week against Texas A&M. Appalachian State looked good against nobody, against the practice squad. So this is a smelly spread. You tell me what you do with a smelly spread, because I
always run to the smell. It looks like it's too good to be true. Do you take App State? In my opinion,
this is a statement game for Appalachian State. With that said, I don't think the freshman quarterback Lamb is going to get it done. I think they're going to lose. I think they're going to lose big. Sorry, Happy, but I'm going to go with Monroe in this one.
All right, Mike.
44 losses for Georgia State by my best count, I think. So they covered that one.
Okay.
68
1
yards.
yard per loss, is that?
Yeah, pretty much. But 68 yards, I mean, come on. It doesn't matter what kind of weather you're playing in. You got to do a little bit better than that.
2 yards per loss.
Yeah. App, I think, is getting a lot of credit for that beating that they put on Georgia State. And, I mean, they did away with the injured little lamb that stumbled onto their field, but I think they're getting too much credit.
I did it.
Yeah, puns. but they're getting a little bit too much credit on the line this week. I think Monroe is a solid team. Not a ton of offense, but I think it's enough to get it done and win it outright.
Eddie.
I'll go with Monroe in this one.
So we got Monroe. Did you go? All right, I'm going to have to break this one. I'm going to go with App State. When it looks too good to be true, you go after that team, and I'm going to go with App Y'all can have the Monroes.
We'll just take that win.
Georgia, 10-point favorites over Kentucky. Ugh, what happened last week? They let Florida run all over them and got demolished. And there goes the national championship hopes down the drain this week. Do they bounce back or do they have a hangover? 10-point favorites over Kentucky. Matt
Well,
Yoder.
Florida, Georgia, Southern to Georgia on Saturday. That was fun to watch. Yeah, I think Georgia's going to be a little punch drunk in this one. I love picking the Bulldogs. I make
Never
a
done
living
it.
off of that.
Why
but,
do I even start with you?
yeah,
Okay, so you're going
I'm taking
you know
Kentucky.
Mike.
Georgia has a bad habit of having those, I believe somebody called it a vapor lock game every year. They just didn't show up against Florida. They also have a habit of taking it out on an inferior team the next week. That's what Kentucky is. Georgia shows up now that they have all the pressure off of them. They show up big. They pile on the points. They cover the 10.
Eddie.
I'm with Mike. Let's go with Georgia.
All right, we're 3 out of 4 going. 3 out of 4 Statesboro Herald employees take the Bulldogs over Kentucky. So that will be UGA for me, Kentucky for Yogus, and Mike and Eddie going with
Kentucky's
Georgia.
coming back. They're on the way back.
All right, we got Georgia Tech, 4-point favorites against NC State. 2 teams Georgia Southern has played. 2 teams Georgia Southern maybe should have beaten. Tech, a 4-point favorite at NC State. Matt Yogus.
I'm trying to think of how these teams have evolved since we saw them play. When Georgia Southern played them, NC State's been kind of going down. Georgia Tech's been kind of going up. They had those 2 losses. They're playing defense now, which is something we haven't seen pretty much throughout the Paul Johnson era. So I like Georgia Tech in this one. I know it's on the road, but NC State is just falling off the map, and Georgia Tech throwing some bows. I like Georgia Tech.
Mike.
I picked Virginia last week. Tech made me look dumb. They usually have a letdown game, but now that we're looking at it, it turns out that I think that was North Carolina. They played them back when North Carolina still had a little bit of an offense. Tech has their bad game out of the way. I think they come out of the gates hot. They blow out NC State.
Eddie.
I'll go with Tech also.
All right, I guess I'm going to be the odd man out once again. I'm going with NC State to find a way to keep this one close.
I'm passing Josh this week.
Yes,
4
you are.
points. Hey, NC State, I think at home plays a little bit better. All right, let's get right into the high school game. Statesboro High wrapping up the season at home against Effingham. The good thing going for them is this is a bit of a rival game, and it's also senior night, even though a lot of them are still banged up and won't be able to dress for the game. Yogus, your thoughts. 10-point favorites, Effingham over Statesboro.
I'm sorry, Blue Devils. I've tried picking you along the way. It hasn't worked out for me. I got to go with Effingham. Statesboro's going to play with pride. They're going to play hard, but I still think Effingham covers.
Mike.
Effingham's better on paper. They're better in the win column. They probably have just a little bit more talent, or at least healthy talent, than Statesboro. That said, I think Statesboro sucks it up. They win it late. They go out on top. They go out with a win, getting them to the offseason. Late touchdown does it for the Blue Devils.
Eddie.
Gotta go with the Rebels in this one.
All right, split this time. I'm going with the Blue Devils. And we got 2 Statesboros and 2 Effinghams. Wait, you did, Yogus, you did go Effingham?
I did.
All right.
Statesboro, and I went up again.
There we go. All right, Southeast Bullock opening up the, not opening up the state. Got a little ahead of myself. Region title on the line, or at least a playoff opportunity in the state on the line as they host Appling County. Rare for a 4 seed to be a favorite over a 1 seed, but that's the way it is. According to Mike Anthony, 7-point favorites, Appling over Southeast. Yogus.
SEB is basically Missouri right now, and Appling's coming out of the SEC West, if you know what I'm saying. So, on paper, I can see why Appling would be a favorite in this one, but SEB's been kind of rolling lately. They got the playoffs on the line. They could go 2 years in a row. I think it happens. I think SEB wins the ball game and they make the playoffs.
Mike.
Oh, the reason Appling County's a favorite is because they've pretty much dispatched the Yellow Jackets each of the last 2 years. Back when they played everybody in the region, double-digit wins for Appling County both times. I think SEB's better this year. I think Appling might be a half step behind where they've been the last couple of seasons. I think this one comes down to a kick. It's up in the air. I don't know whether it's good or not, but this is a field goal game. I'll go with SEB.
All right, Eddie, what we got? 2 Southeast Bullocks.
I will go with the Pirates, Dublin County.
All right, I think I'm going to have to go with Mike and Matt. I think it's going to be a close enough game. What do we do on a push? Have we had that happen yet?
We edited it and add a 0.5 on the spread.
All right.
I think I gave everybody a win for that last time it happened.
All right, I mean, that's about all you can do on that, is to go with a push. Everybody wins because it's 7 points. All right, we got Portal taking on Toombs. We're going to begin with Mike on this one because he has some explaining to do after last week's Jenkins County Portal game. Portal is a 6-point underdog against Toombs, AAA team. Mike, first of all, you got anything?
Well, I'm surprised you were able to get through the introduction. I was going to actually take over this game. I figured your mouth would be full with the lunch that I bought you for incorrectly picking Jenkins County to easily win. They were up 14, but Portal, as they've done the last couple of weeks, they kept it close. This is a team that not much has gone right for, but you got to give them credit. They're fighting like they always do. Now they've got maybe an outside chance, depending on how the math works out, to possibly sneak their way into the playoffs. I don't know how. You'd have to consult the Class A power poll rating system. But they've got a Toombs County team. They're a AAA team, but Portal 1-0 against AAA teams this season. I think Portal gets it done. I don't know if the math works out. The redemption of Jordan Albury, a field goal to win it.
Toombs. All right, we got one Portal. Matt Yogas.
Portal played great in the second half. You know, you talk about Portal, you always talk about losing steam in the second half. They didn't. They played great. They had to convert a 4th and 11. They got back into the ball game. Obviously, a game they probably could have won. Here's how I think it plays out. I think Portal talks all week about the fact that they could make the state playoffs. They go out, they win the game, but I still don't think it's enough to get them into that top 16.
All right, Eddie, so far you've picked against our Bullitt County teams 2 in a row.
Well,
Is it 3?
I might as well go all the way ahead.
All right.
James County.
All right, I'm obviously going to have to stick with Portal or there's going to be some trouble at home. So we're going Portal all the way down except for Mr. Ledbetter and his Toombs County Bulldogs. All right, wrapping it up. Opening round of the state for Bullock Academy. Unfortunately, they're going to be taking on the GISA's version of the SEC in a 3 seed with Deerfield Windsor. Bullock Academy a 9-point underdog. We're going to begin with Matt Yogas. What's your thoughts on this?
It's a home game. BA had a chance to really sure up a win in the first round last week. They didn't get it done in a de facto kind of region championship game. BA steps up in the playoffs, though. This is a team that, is still snake-bitten from last year. I think they play hard. They cover the 9. I don't know that they win the game, but I do think they cover.
All right.
Bullock Academy, you got to give them credit. This is a team that totally lost its way last year, but they didn't miss a beat this year. They started off hot. They survived a couple tough losses against defending state champions. They finished with a bang aside from last week, but they get into the playoffs. They get a home game, which they haven't had in the postseason in 5 or 6 years. So I think there's a lot of buzz, a big turnout for the game. I think BA plays a good game, but they got a really unlucky draw. Deerfield, Windsor, they're the real deal. I don't know what they're doing as a 3 seed. They should be higher than that. I'm going to have to take Deerfield, Windsor.
All right, Eddie. You're going to do a clean sweep against Bullock County?
I'm going to get run out of town and say yes, Deerfield.
All right, well, I'm going to go with Mike and Eddie. I think Deerfield Windsor are a little too tough. Congratulations to the Gators on making it to the state, because after 3-7, I don't think a lot of people had picked them to go this far. Congratulations, but I think it comes to an end this week. So we have Deerfield, Windsor, Deerfield, Windsor, Deerfield, Windsor, and how about Matt Yogas going with the Gators, the lone Statesboro Herald employee to go with Bullock
Remember that
Academy.
Gator Alley.
There you go, Ron Hutchinson. All right, well, that'll wrap it up for this week. For Matt Yogas, Mike Anthony, and Eddie Ledbetter, I'm Josh Aubrey. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you again next week.